Here we
Look
go.
at us. What time is it? 5:16? Oh man.
5:17. That's
Oh
okay.
shoot. Wait. Gosh dang it. It got me again because I'm like, I can't click the go live button.
Patience.
I know.
It's
I
a virtue.
know.
I
Yeah.
couldn't click it at all last week, I don't think.
There we are.
Okay. All right. Doing the thing.
Doing the things, all the things.
Episode 11 for chapter 10 of Punished by Rewards. I was telling Brittany before we started, this is my lucky number, so this is going to be our best episode yet.
I thought it. Listen to me. I'm like, I thought it was an okay chapter.
Well, we're going to make it an incredible episode.
I'm like, it's okay. It was just more like, it's more about being at work, which was cool because like we can, transfer that to like teachers because we're at work, right? So like that's kind of the mindset that I had when reading this, but
I saw a lot of transferable things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into this one. But hello, welcome back to the Ignited Podcast. I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Brittany.
And today we are going to be talking all about chapter 10. Thank God it's Monday, the roots of motivation in the workplace in Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn. And this week, Brittany is going to do the honor of doing the first summary for us. You ready? What if Alfie hears this episode and he hears you say that you didn't think this chapter was that much? What?
Maybe he'll make notes and improve it. I'm just kidding. He's gonna be like, whoa. No. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Alfie.
No, it's all good. I'm just busting you. Are you ready? 2 minutes? Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, so this chapter was all about how incentive-based programs do not really work in the workplace, and instead of focusing on incentive-based programs, we should be focusing on choice, collaboration. Oh, there was another C. Choice, collaboration, and content. How much choice does a person have in the job that they do? How much collaboration do they have, a sense of community and the type of work that they're doing, and do they think it's important? It talked about the 3 types of motivation or the systems that we use to motivate workers, and the evaluation system, the incentivized system, and there was another system. Maybe there was just 2. So for incentive-based systems, you know how Alfie feels about incentives. It demotivates people. It makes employees competitive. It creates a system where people feel helpless and they have no control. So he just said abolish that. That's just not motivating workers, and it never will. And then he talks about the evaluation and how the evaluation system that we use really doesn't do anything to motivate people. Instead, it kind of makes people resentful of the whole system, or because it makes people resentful because right now this is the way that businesses and schools use evaluations is more to control or to like pass the buck of responsibility. And so then he went over choice, collaboration, and content, and ways to improve. Boom.
Look at you go. You got a lot of content in there. That was a good one.
Content. The 3 C's.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my...
We should get an actual like novelty looking timer that we use for this.
See, you're always trying to class us up, Ash.
You
We gotta
know,
stay.
I mean, I did say novelty. I was expecting like a clock with Alfie's face on it.
Yes.
Like a visual
timer.
But,
oh my gosh. So now I'm like now I'm worried that Alfie's gonna really hear this, and then he's gonna be like, man, she's kind of a be.
No,
You're like, I'm sorry, Alfie.
I think if he hears it, he's also going to hear all the episodes where we've referenced
Yeah.
like making signs with his face, making
Yeah.
t-shirts with him,
We love you.
singing our praises. Yes, we do.
Okay. And I was kidding. Okay, ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Boom.
All right. In chapter 10 of Punished by Rewards, we look at motivation in the workplace. And basically, long story short, is you can't really motivate people, but you can create structures and systems where they're going to want to be more motivated to do things. So, like all of the stuff we've learned about so far, the rewards, the punishments, all that stuff that's being done to increase motivation, don't do that. Instead, create a climate where people will be more inclined to be motivated. So, the steps to do that are number one, to abolish any incentive programs that you have, to reevaluate how you hold evaluations of employees, and to create conditions for authentic motivation. And the conditions that create authentic motivation, Alfie refers to as the 3 C's, which are, like Brittany mentioned, collaboration, which defines the context of the work. With collaboration that defines context of the work, the content of the tasks, and the extent to which people have choice about what they do and how they do that work. And the end goal is that if you're able to create an environment that does this, people are going to be more inclined to be motivated. And then Alfie also looked at, what about the jobs where it's not super motivating and people might not find meaning in them? How you can kind of get creative and think about those jobs, how you could find motivation in them, maybe through your coworkers, or think about the necessity of having those jobs in the first place and how they're truly serving society. And yeah, we're going to stop right there.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
I like that you mentioned, like, are those jobs serving society? Because that was a big section that kind of like made me think, like, oh yeah, maybe we don't need those frozen dinners or
Yeah.
the really cheap stuff that we get off of, what's that app? Temu?
Shein? Oh, I was thinking
Shein.
Shein.
The same. Yeah. It's like the things that are like kind of ruining people's lives, and it's pretty
Yeah.
much slavery.
Exactly. And I also found it interesting in here too how it talked about choice in the workplace and like managers. Yeah, there's one example where he went over how management like wanted to have their employees be more motivated, and then when it came down to like, okay, you want them to have a say in things, they were like, no, how do you make them feel like they have a say, but not actually give some power and autonomy to them?
Yeah.
And it's that fear of losing control just playing out again and again in our society.
Right. And that, like, I found a lot of, when you said transferable knowledge, like there's a lot of transferable knowledge on like how we are treated as teachers and how we have like a top-down system of authority and like a power hierarchy, and how we're not really given many choices in how our building operates. And that contributes to burnout. Like he says, this was actually going to be my quote. He says, burnout is not on page 193. Burnout is not a function of how much work they have to do, so much as how controlled and powerless they feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's like, if you read any text on like teacher burnout, it comes down to like people feeling like they just are hopeless. Like there's no change that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you're just stuck. And I'm curious because we've both been in different schools. So and we've had different administrators. So what's been the spectrum of like micromanaged versus like self-employed that you've had in the classroom?
So I think because I'm in special education, um, we are treated a little bit different,
Mhm.
where like the my principal's administrator, so like the director, um, really feels like we're experts in our field, and they don't require our principal to micromanage us. Um, because I feel like that's where it comes from, like if you have a principal that does micromanage, it's because they're super stressed
Yeah.
because their authority figure is maybe micromanaging them or
And
just putting
that's
them under.
yeah, that's what we've seen too in this
Mhm.
reading.
Yeah. So, um, I haven't had too much experience with micromanaging.
Mm.
And I teach art. So, it's few and far between you find an
Yeah.
art teacher who goes into administration. So, if my principal was trying to micromanage me, they wouldn't know what to do. Like, how do you micromanage an art room, like an art teacher?
That's the thing too, because I've also, I don't know if people listening have heard this, but I've also taught art before. I
Mhm.
had a job teaching art as a long-term sub, and I also had a position for almost a year. Then the pandemic came, my role changed, teaching another elective called informational literacy.
Mhm.
So I've kind of seen the way you're treated differently as an elective teacher versus like the content area teacher.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was a big shift for me.
Yeah. And for good and bad too.
Yeah, I feel like people kind of forget you exist,
Mhm.
which sometimes is nice, honestly.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But then they also put you in places where it's not serving you.
Right.
Or like I had a professional development meeting, I had to sit through a math PD. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not teaching math. Why am I here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I am lucky in that context too because I work in a center-based program, so every training that we have has to do with our student population, specifically like behavior and mental health and emotional impairment. So that does serve me, but I've definitely sat through reading curriculum PDs.
Mhm.
I'm just like, okay, I mean, this is cool to know, but I don't need to know how to like, operate this textbook or
No,
follow
this
the
online program.
curriculum
Yeah.
pacing. Yeah, like whatever. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I
I
mean, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've had the whole spectrum of different
Oh yeah.
styles. I've had people who are like, create this class. Go for it.
Oh yeah.
And I've had people who are like, I want to see an area in your lesson plans where it tells them what the other adults in your classroom are going to do,
Hmm.
like down to that level. So I've kind of been all across the board. And truthfully, I've enjoyed my job more when I've been given more autonomy,
Oh yeah.
but autonomy with support.
Hmm.
So when I had that job where I had to create the class, I did not feel supported. I had autonomy, but
Hmm.
I felt like I had to watch my back, honestly. Um, Whereas when I was in another school where I felt like I had some support and I felt like I had leadership who believed in me, I felt like I was encouraged to kind of step out
Hmm.
and do things. And that was probably the happiest working environment I've had, where I had some autonomy, but I also had some support.
Yeah. When you were talking about how an
Mhm.
administrator told you that they wanted to see like what are the adults in your classroom doing, like I can understand why, because a lot of the time paras or TAs, they don't know explicitly what they're supposed to be doing, so they just sit there
Mhm.
and they're not used, and then they don't feel useful, and then that wrecks their motivation too. But you have to do it in a way that is encouraging, like with our evaluations, because that's probably when they told you, right? Like the review of your lesson plan.
I think this came in an email.
Oh,
Yeah. Things got a little bit
Right.
wonky during this season of life in my
Yeah.
career. No, it was a strange situation to be in. I think it was a lot of like looking to be more micromanaging, like give these items to do to
Mhm.
show like you're asking for things. Um, but I think what matters the most is what the act that's happening too. Because like if you walk into my classroom, then you'll see that there might be a second teacher sometimes. There's probably a group of kids gathered around them doing something.
Mhm.
Because like I'll touch base and be like, hey, can you do this? Or do you want to try this tomorrow? And like we'll talk.
Yeah.
But when you feel like you have someone kind of breathing down your neck and then even like looking for issues,
Mhm.
that feels so demoralizing.
Mhm. Well, I once heard that I think it was in the district I was working for at the time that you weren't going to get highly effective because that means that there's no room for improvement. And
Oh,
somebody had said that, and then word got around, and then the evaluation system was meaningless. Like nobody was taking it seriously, but at the same time, like you had to take it seriously because it's merit pay, or like,
oh, it
well,
was?
it's not merit pay, but it was attached to whether you would get your pay bump or not. So
Mm.
yeah, I guess merit pay. And like that was that year that they had made, like, it was a district decision, and which they ended up taking it back because it was
I
so
wonder why.
demoralizing. Right. Like, I don't know. I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from this book is that, like, along with the rewards, just like how our evaluation system is shaped is so ineffective.
hmm
Oh,
There was something that you just said, and it made me want to add on to it, but now I'm losing it again.
no, come back,
I
thought.
know it was about like evaluations or something like that, or feedback to teachers. Where in the text did it talk about the evaluations?
Oy,
Let's go to that.
was it one?
185. Oh, having it be a two-way conversation.
Yeah. I'm on that part too.
Yeah. In a continuous approach
Mm-hmm.
and having it be divorced from decisions about compensation.
Yes.
And even like ranking too. I think I shared here before that I had one administrator at one point who would put down the kids' test scores by the teacher mailboxes. So you could see each teacher's class and where they were performing, kind of like a competition. And it
There's
pissed people off.
like there's so much wrong with that on so many levels, mainly being we don't control test scores.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody write that down and send it to whoever needs to hear it.
And
Ah.
something interesting too, I'm doing an experiment right now
Mm-hmm.
where we do exit tickets after most of my lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've changed it so the kids can't see their grade now. They can
Okay.
see like their quiz average across their standard, but they're not seeing their grade per the eggs unless they want to come talk to me personally, just to see if there's like a reduction in anxiety, maybe an uptick in performance. And I
Mm-hmm.
haven't started long enough to see all those results yet. But I have seen a lot less anxiety surrounding exits
Mm-hmm.
and even like some more joy in like trying to participate and understand the text.
I like it.
Somehow that felt like it connected to what we just said
Well, I think it
in my
connects.
brain.
Yeah, I think it connects to the book,
Yeah.
definitely. Like, how many times have we read that grades are demotivating, like
Yeah,
unmotivating?
I was thinking of the ranking, I think.
Oh, the
Making the
ranking
connection with
for
that.
for ranking for
Evaluations.
evaluations.
Because when I think of evaluations, I think about us working with students a lot. Because our job is basically to evaluate them and tell them what to do differently.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of what we have to do. So to make it come across in a way they're going to be receptive and not in a way that just creates this fear culture, which is also something that Sharon from Teaching Through Education and I were talking about. We did the whole like 2-hour-long training on this in my membership, The Village, last month, looking at the fear of failure in education and students. And I forget the stat exactly right now, but it was a huge percentage of people who fear failure more than other things like spiders or like storms. Other like big fears people would probably have. And fear is a huge percentage of our society. And I think it's because we do things like this in our schools for years where we embed and instill that fear.
Yeah, because when we think about PBIS, failure means you're going to lose out on that experience or that reward. So yeah,
or you're punished if you're not doing PBIS.
Right.
You know, it's rarely seen as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, no. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
I was going to say like it's a learning opportunity for the kid to just like learn how to follow whatever you want them to do. Like it's a learning opportunity for compliancy, but no, it's not even really that.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite quote?
Oh, okay. So there was a lot of different things identified here, but I think what I like a lot comes at the end of the chapter. And it's on page 196 in the physical book. It says, when management earns their trust, theirs and the employees, when it provides the time and resources necessary to make informed decisions, they are generally only too happy to take steps to manage themselves and to begin to take control of their lives, and they as in workers. And I highlighted that because of the concept of earning trust and giving support. I think that's so important. And I have a saying in my classroom where respect is given, trust is earned. And like I recognize that my students are not going to trust me when they come in, probably a lot of them. And that's fine. That's normal. They're just meeting me. And truthfully, I don't even aim to get their respect. I say that we should act in a respectful way, but the choice for them to respect me is completely up to them. But trust is also something that I feel like is earned. So I will always respect my students, but I feel like my trust is earned.
Yeah.
And I think management has to remember that as well. I feel like there's this misconception in society where if someone has a status or a role, they assume we're going to trust their decisions.
Not with teachers.
No, probably quite the opposite. Actually, it's probably the inverse effect right there.
Right. We want to know how long you were in the classroom for.
Exactly. Your experiences.
Yeah.
Some account Instagram posted this at one point. I forget who it was. So if somebody else saw this, comment the account. But it was something like, do you think that teachers or admin, let me rephrase. Do you think that administrators should have to hit like a certain criteria as a teacher in order to be an admin? Like you have to be a really good teacher in order to be an admin? Or if you could be a really good administrator, that being a very good teacher, because it's kind of a different skill set.
Are you asking me? I think that it depends. So this is going to go into like my quote. The way that our schools are designed right now, I would say it'd be more helpful to have an admin that was a really good teacher that could help you with your practice. Wait. I don't know. Okay, so because they also have like all of these like managerial and paperwork and administrative responsibilities too.
And the thing is too that I feel like you can know a lot of the things to do in your classroom, but you operate under constraints. You know, so like for example, I might know that's a really great idea to include movement and turn and talks and to have centers around the room where the kids can explore these different history manipulatives. I know that. But if my lesson plan says I have to do 5 different center rotations in 15 minutes and I don't have a globe, then I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to have to create something virtual where the kids go through on their Chromebooks and they can do it. Maybe they can move around the room, but they work on their own thing and they work at their own pace because that's not enough time to get through all these centers and all of that transitional time with 20 plus kids in a room.
Yeah.
or like, okay, I should do different language structures, or I should highlight parts of my text to make different things stand out more to kids.
Mm-hmm.
But if I only have 2 prep times this week because the rest of them go to meetings, when am I going to do that?
Right.
So like you can know a lot of the things to do, but being able to do them and implement them, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. So I think
go ahead.
So I think that in that lane of thinking, it would be more helpful to have a creative teacher who became an administrator. Because not only could they help you creatively problem solve those 15-minute rotations, but they would also know, like, reading that is not realistic because they've been in the classroom, like,
Exactly.
So I would say that, honestly, talking through this, that a principal should definitely have been in the classroom and have been an exceptional teacher. What do you think?
I don't know. I think that a principal should have been in the classroom, but I also think a principal should still be in the classroom. I think every administrator should sub like 1 day a month and just remember what it's like. And don't get so depersonalized from it that you forget what it feels like to be in that position.
So this is, I think, a good segue into my quote, which is, let me find it. Performance evaluation. Where is it? Your goal is the last reason. Maybe you can help me find it. It's the quote about how we structure businesses right now in a pyramid style, with authority sitting at the top and it being a few positions that are coveted. Where are you, quote? Hiring people, reassigning when people are well matched. That's interest. Oh. And I have all of these color coded too. This is definitely ADHD, where I have systems and my systems get me lost. So if you have ADHD, pop a hand in the chat. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna just try to say it myself.
Okay. Wait, I found it.
What page?
184.
Okay.
And I also commented on it that I feel like having a freelancing kind of work environment might destroy this principle. Do you want me to read it, Britt? Can you find it?
Hold on. I'm dubious assumption first. Yeah, do you want go ahead and read it?
Okay, I think this is the one. In thinking about promotion, we take for granted that an organization must be shaped like a pyramid, with many people clamoring for a few desirable and lucrative jobs at the top, as if this arrangement has been decreed by God. In fact, both how many such positions are available and how many people want them are the result of institutional decisions. We create a climate in which employees are made to feel like failures if they are not upwardly mobile. And we arrange the majority of jobs so that those who hold them are given very little money and responsibility. Were these things to change, the competitive scramble for promotions might be eased, and we will be obliged to rethink the whole issue of who does what in an organization.
Yeah. So there's 2 points that I want to make. One is that so many people have this belief that if you just stay a teacher, you just stay a teacher. Like it's
so easy.
Yeah, or the point of being a teacher is to become a principal. No, the point, or get into administration somewhere, be a director or superintendent.
Yeah.
But we need to shift our mindset on that being the teacher, that's the most important person. That's one of the most important people at the building. And that needs to be the coveted position, not the principal, not the administration.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too, the way our schools are structured. Like they're an organization, right? But it's so segmented and no one sees what else is going on.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like we have the teachers who are like the majority of the workers, then the
Mhm.
administrative level, the district level, the state level, the consultation people you bring in,
Mhm.
you know, the stakeholders in the community. We all operate in such segmented roles, and there's rarely ever any overlap. And I took classes on this. That's what you need to have an organization that
Yeah.
works well. You have to have people being able to communicate and come together,
Yeah.
and to have all voice at the table and to have that shared interest.
Right. Yeah, it's a school should operate, and it does operate. It is an ecosystem. A school is
Mhm.
an ecosystem, and every single part of that ecosystem contributes. And if there's no communication and there's just isolation, right? The
Yeah.
ecosystem is not going to be as healthy.
It's an example of a poor team, which we read about.
Yeah, yeah. So the second, see, and I'm just making so many connections. So like the second point from this quote, where he says, we take for granted that an organization must be shaped like a pyramid, with many people clamoring for very few desirable and lucrative jobs at the top. I propose that if we were going to restructure education, like there's a lot to be done. But one thing that we could consider is, how do we structure the organizational aspect, the roles and the responsibilities and the contributions of the actual like schoolhouse, so that it's not all of the responsibility for like accountability or for management of the building doesn't just fall on the principal and the vice principal, but it's a shared responsibility. So you could pay teachers a little bit more
Mhm.
and give them roles where everybody's contributing to the control of the building and to like the maintenance, not the physical maintenance, but like maintaining the routines and maintaining the culture. Like it could be a shared, what is that called in businesses where everybody has like they have a share in the company?
Shareholders?
Yeah, like and everybody, yeah, because I mean, how many times in your master's program did you hear shareholders and stakeholders?
A lot. What
Right,
about you?
right, a
How
lot.
often do
Like,
you hear it in our day to day?
no, not at all, unless you're talking
Never.
about parents,
Yeah.
stakeholders, like the
Mhm.
stakeholders. Rarely are we talking about teachers.
Yeah.
Huh, look at that. Just so many ahas.
There was something else I was just having an aha connection about too, but it's lost again, Brittany.
Ah,
It's gone.
you'll text me later.
Yeah, I will. So then,
Like, you gotta put that on Instagram.
yes. What's your action step then for people after
So,
reading this chapter?
I was thinking about this right before we logged on. I think that it is to start talking about the changes that we wanna see,
Mhm.
whether it's with the evaluation system or it's the restructuring of, like, the organization for control of the building, or what am I trying to say? Like, whether it's like restructuring power and choice making, decision
Yeah.
making, in the actual school. Um, it's very easy to feel like we can't make change, like things are hopeless. But in reality, change happens with conversations and communication, um, and idea sharing. So we want to just be more vocal Talk to your teachers, talk in your building, talk on social media, talk about the changes you want to see, no matter what kind of changes they are. Like, the more people that are talking about them, the more likely the changes are going to happen.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Thanks. What about you?
For me, I think it would be to start diving into the 3 C's of motivation. And if you feel like your students are struggling with intrinsic motivation, see where you can foster collaboration, give some more context for the task and make it meaningful for the kids, and then give them some choice for what they do and just see what happens.
Yes.
Don't give them rewards.
Don't give them rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to plug the toolkit because I just feel like it's just so natural. Maybe not after I said this, but it was just going to be so organic.
Plug the toolkit. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So if you want to give your kids more choice and collaboration and context to the content, you should check out the Neurodivergent Toolkit because it shows you exactly how to do all 3 of those things. And you
Love
can find it on my
it.
website.
Teachingtoariot.com.
Thank you.
Yes. And then my plug too, because if you're doing a plug, I want to do a plug.
Do it.
My plug is if you want to learn all about these things, and I have different like resources and activities you can do with your students to teach them about themselves and get them able to be themselves in the classroom and to develop intrinsic motivation. I have a whole plethora. I have so many resources. I have so many resources in my membership at the Village that you can access, like trainings, lessons, workbooks for you, all that good stuff. And that you can find in my bio.
Yeah. Or asforashlyn.com.
There
right?
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Or if you message me, I can send you the link. And I'm sure if you message Brittany, she can also send you the link to her toolkit.
Yeah.
And we have a new
Or the
toolkit.
circle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have a new toolkit coming out, Britt. Right?
Yeah.
Your ADHD one.
Oh my God. I'm so stoked.
And we have our whole workshop coming out. So we
Yes.
haven't really talked about this too much either.
No.
We're doing all the plugging tonight.
We
But
are.
these are really cool things that we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have the dope workshop coming up on April 25th, right?
Mhm. Yep. All about ADHD in the classroom and conscious classroom management, right?
Yep. And then we're going to have a lesson that you can teach your students to normalize ADHD and teach different coping skills that they can use to ideally create a classroom where it doesn't feel like this taboo topic or like a stigmatized student. It's a community of support
Yes.
for each other and one that celebrates neurodiversity.
Yes. And ADHD.
So if you want
love
that, maybe what should they message us? We can tell them more information about it.
ADHD, yeah.
Yeah, message us that or DM us ADHD. We can tell you more information about that because
Mhm.
stuff will be going on. It's still on pre-sale, isn't it? We just haven't really announced it yet.
Yeah, the workshop is on pre-sale and so is my toolkit.
Yep.
So yeah, just message us ADHD and we'll send you the link.
We got you. All right. Now it's time for our beautiful outro. You ready for this, Britt?
Dude, I just forgot what I say. Bye. I say bye. Okay. Last time I was saying, and I'm Brittany.
Yes, you saw Brittany like 3 times. It was beautiful. Brittany and I were hysterical. After last week's episode ended, like just go back, listen to like the last 2 minutes and just know afterwards we were wheezing from laughing so hard.
It was fantastic. It's why I do this.
Good. Yes, that was good. All right. Well, we hope this episode left you feeling ignited, remoralized, and re-energized.
I'm Brittany. Bye.